So why did you guys choose to come to this versus to the actual classes?
Well, I've been here for I missed last year, but I was here the previous 2 years, and I've always gone to the technical classes. And so I figured, I'll come here this year.
How about you, Ben? Why did you choose this?
Well, I'm here to enjoy, and also as a journalist, and hoping that you'll talk a little too frankly and say a little too much and make my story interesting in the Two River Times next week.
How about you, Raymond? Why did you pick this one versus classes?
I guess I haven't been here before, so I'm haven't been here to this program.
So I think what I'll do is I'll give you guys a crash course in the history of the organization, and then I'll talk about where we're going. Excuse me. So there were Vintage Computer Federation, Inc., 501c3 nonprofit. There were 3 separate groups that became us. In 2004, myself and Andy Meyer founded a group called March, which was Mid-Atlantic Retro Computing Hobbyists. It was just a computer club. There was no structure, it was just a computer club. We met on the Vintage Computer Forum, which was owned by Eric Klein in California, and I just opened a few months prior to that. And Andy posted a message saying, hey, anyone out in Central Jersey? I'm like, yeah, me. Private message each other. Said, hey, let's get together, have a beer, screw around on computers. Hang out, right? Maybe we'll find some other people. That was it. That's all we ever wanted to do. Had we said from day one we'd do this, it would have failed in 6 months. It would have been overwhelming, ridiculous. Who would be that dumb? Turns out we weren't. So he knew a couple other guys in Connecticut. I knew a guy in Pennsylvania. Someone knew a guy in Delaware. So we decided to try to focus on the Mid-Atlantic group. And this is like summer '04. And at first it was just like 10 people trading emails, copying each other. We realized this isn't going to work. At the time, Yahoo Groups was where it was at. So it's okay, we got to call it something. So the 10 of us just brainstormed names. We talked about Maven, Mid-Atlantic Vintage Electronics Network, because Maven is Yiddish for expert. Came up with March, Mid-Atlantic Retro Computing Hobbyist. We had a fierce debate about whether retro computing is one word or two or hyphenated. Whatever. So we became March, and the first thing the group did was so Andy was chairman of the Linux SIG in the Amateur Computer Group in New Jersey, which is like a 40-year-old group. They're the guys who had the old Training Computer Festival, which still exists. But it's a modern computer show, but it's historic. It quit the forum 42 years ago. So in spring '05, the people who were in that training show said, hey, why don't you guys come in and do a demo? It was our 30th anniversary. They said, come in, do a demo of what it was like here for our first show. So we set up our out-theres and our sols and our IMSIs and everything else. And it was a big hit. We had about 15 people in our little mini VCF, if you will. It was a smash hit. And we all went out for like burgers and beer afterward. And everyone looked at me and said, what do we do next? I said, what are you asking me for? They said, well, you're the guy who organized this, you're in charge. Like, what? No, I'm not. I said, what? He said, well, I guess that's it. I guess we're done. I was like, no, I enjoyed doing it. No one voted for me, no election. They said, well, keep doing it. We'll tell you if you mess up. And that's how I got to be king. One person handed us $20, handed me $20 across the table. I said, what's this for? He said, open a bank account. And the most naive thing I've ever said in my life, we're just a computer club. What do we need money for? Now our bank account at VCF is 5 figures. Started with Herb's $20. Pretty nice. So anyway,
does that include your big salary?
Yeah, right. So the next weekend, people running the training show sent us these pictures, and they said something very funny happened. So what's that? They said, you guys inadvertently had a dramatic reenactment of what our first show is like. If you take our pictures, except for the fact that they were color versus black and white, the same geeky guys, the same computers, the same primitive tables and cheesy displays, we basically had a dramatic reenactment unintentionally of what their show was like 30 years ago. What are you zooming in on?
No, there's no picture. Oh, I can't zoom in on this as an iPhone.
Oh, good. So, I'm not photogenic. So it was kind of touching that we accidentally reenacted their show, you know. So, anyway, we're at that Trenton show, and the people who run that show said, hey, come meet this other group called the New Jersey Antique Radio Club. They do the same exact thing you do, except with radios and computers. And so we met NJARC, and they said, well, there's this place called InfoAge. Come visit. So Andy and I came down here in summer '05, first time. We met the people who run this place, and they said, well, have a museum here. We said, yeah, how hard can that be? Oops. Before we existed, one individual had donated, a guy named Dimitri Grave. He was an AMP employee and an IEEE life engineer. He had donated a collection of historic computers to InfoAge. InfoAge put it aside and said, one day we'll have someone who knows what to do with this stuff. We showed up. So InfoAge said, here's a room to start with, here's a collection to start with, curate it. Grow the collection. So we got going. And some of the other groups that are here, like, you know, I don't want to say who, but some of the other groups that are here existed for years before they were here, so their members aren't really as bought in. We were here almost from day one, or like year one. So most of our members, this is what they know, you know. So our club, it was just a computer club. We grew and grew and grew. And then meanwhile, okay, so that's part one of the story. Then people started donating stuff to us, not InfoAge.
I clarify.
Yeah.
So InfoAge is a separate thing from...
Completely separate, yes. InfoAge Science Center is a nonprofit of its own. This campus is the InfoAge Science Center.
Okay.
Okay. InfoAge, the Army gave the land to the town leases it to InfoAge.
Okay.
InfoAge in turn subleases different rooms and buildings to all different groups.
Because the name InfoAge almost sounds like kind of a computer-y thing.
That was probably intended, information age.
Right.
Because everything here, from the Shipwreck Museum, to the Radio Museum, to the Hackerspace, to the ham radio guys, it's all about information age.
Okay.
So, in retrospect, should they have called the Jersey Shore Science Center? Probably. But it's not my call. That's higher pay grade than me.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes. Sometimes when I say we, I mean InfoAge. Sometimes I say we, I mean us. Anyway, so that's the story of March. And then people started donating stuff to March, not InfoAge, our collection. And originally we just had the InfoAge collection. Now that little part that we curate for them is about 5% of our collection. You know what I mean? Because our collection has now come to dwarf theirs. Anyway, in '97, a man named Salam Ismail was a computer consultant out in Silicon Valley, and he formed the Vintage Computer Festival. It wasn't called VCF West because it was the only one. It was just VCF. Privately owned by Salam. And it grew pretty successfully. And then he gave the rights in Europe to somebody out there. And he had two shows, VCF East 1 and 2, he had in Boston, and it was run by him in California. They weren't very successful because he had nobody in the field to run it, right? So when we got, by 2006, we were growing at a good rate, and I was friends with him, and he said, hey, you're the East Coast computer guys now, why don't you do VCF East? We said, okay, fine, but it's got to be here. We have our own facility, that was the deal. So we took over VCF East as a number 3. They used to be .0, in 2006 here. And we did 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0. We took a year off at one point because my mom was dying of cancer. Then a few years later we took off because of Hurricane Sandy. Even though it happened in the fall, our shows in the spring, we still didn't have power. So we took 2 years off over 12 years. After 2007, which was VCF, formerly not called West, 10, that guy went on hiatus for a few years because of personal matters. So we became the biggest show in town. We were the only show in town. Meanwhile, a group formed in Chicago, a group formed in Atlanta as regional shows. We were the biggest one because we had the most population centers. And so that's that story. In 2004, Eric Klein, also of Silicon Valley, formed the Vintage Computer Forum discussion board as an alternative to Classic Conf, which is a raw email list. It's hard to find Classic Conf if you're a newbie because there's no SEO and anything else. whereas newbies and younger people find web forums. So he grew quickly, became bigger in classic comp. And so we're these three separate things, all friends, but separate things, but owned by different people. And we all grew and became pretty successful. Well, about 2 or 3 years ago, InfoAge started kind of not hounding, gently nudging all the different clubs here to become proper nonprofits, to raise their bars and museum. And Eric had this, multi-thousand user forum, hard for one person to run anymore. And Salam knew there was a huge demand for the California show, but he wasn't in a position to bring it back. So we all had challenges to overcome. And we realized we could do better things together than separate. We didn't know what. We said, what do we all have in common? We're all about bringing hobbyists together in this field, right? We said, let's join up together. And our group, March, was kind of the bigger fish in the merger of equals. So we got to lead it. So we went to see an accountant and a lawyer who experienced nonprofits. They said, start over. Best thing to do is start from scratch. Don't try to convert any group. It's bad form. So we formed a new entity, Vintage Computer Federation, Inc. You can get a nonprofit status as an individual regular Joe. It's better to pay more and have the professionals do it. That way it's done right and not later later, So IRS approved our application and we were a nonprofit. The first thing the nonprofit did was Eric Klein donated his forum, the IP of his forum, to us, and Eric joined our board. Salam donated the IP of the Vintage Computer Festival franchise to us, and he's not involved in any legal way, shape, or form. He's just our friend. And the first thing we did...
So that's why all of the East, West, and all that, all the shows are organized from the one website.
Yes, because it's one entity. And the forum is now on the website. We changed the forum colors to match the website colors, and some of the forum veterans had a conniption. We ruined it. We changed the background color. Okay. They acted like we were evil. Some of them acted like we were evil corporate takeover, So one person wanted to know, publicly posted on the forum, wanted to know about the takeover. The conversation was, Eric, want to get together, join up? Yeah, sure, cool. That was the evil takeover. So that was it. So that's how we became the Brady Bunch, so to speak. And then the first major thing we did was bring back VCF California. We called it VCF West at that point.
You go to that?
Yes, I did. And when the last one was held in 2007, social media wasn't really a thing yet. It was just kind of people in the hobby. The biggest one they ever had was 700 people. We just opened the doors last summer and 1,000 people showed up. We didn't have to do anything. It was that easy. Because at Silicon Valley, it was a huge demand to bring it back. So it's the biggest show now. So that's kind of the story of how we got to be a federation. So the March Museum, which used to be a few small rooms across the street, is now the big giant room back here, which will be open tomorrow and Sunday. By the way, so when we first had our museum here in 2005, our museum was one 12 by 10 room, then 2, then 4. We had 4 for 7 years, basically 4 rooms and a hallway. It stunk because you couldn't bring anything bigger than a 36-inch doorway, anything through the door.
I've seen that version.
And if you had a docent in one room and a visitor came in the other room, you wouldn't even know. So, but it was the space we had. What could we do? That or nothing. The room we have here now is one giant room with a double doorway like this, and it's more than twice the size of the old 4 rooms combined. So it's really nice. And I'm already telling Fred, the person who runs InfoAge, I want more space. You just got more space. Wait a few more years. So this is now the VCF Museum run by our local chapter. What was March became the Mid-Atlantic chapter of VCF. We're hoping to incubate new groups and or partner with other groups, other March-like groups around the world to become chapters. We thought chapter, but chapter is kind of we own you. So affiliates, is a nicer word. That way we don't own them, they do their own thing, but they're associated with us. We're hoping to do that. We've also gotten a lot of messages from people in places where there aren't any groups like this. How do I get a chapter going? Which is a good, good message. It's encouraging. How am I doing on time?
Well, it says here affiliates, I'm guessing there's not too much to organize.
20 to 50 minutes.
If I wanted to set up my own chapter in Long Island,
Yeah, you could just, well, we prefer that if people contact us from that close, I mean, our chapter is basically Hartford to DC to Pittsburgh. So when someone contacted us from Philly to Long Island, we would say, you're part of our chapter, you're in Utah. If someone contacted us from Boston or Atlanta, Chicago, or those are regions. One person emailed me, how do I get a VCF in Tulsa? Well, we're not having a VCF in Tulsa. Not going to happen. Maybe Austin, but not Tulsa. Too small then. So the next major thing that happened, so that's where we have got to where we are now. Here's the cool stuff we're thinking about, and I'm limited in what I can say about some of this stuff. We want to add more VCFs. This summer, we're going to announce the next major VCF addition in a new place. It's somewhere far away from here, in a whole other metro major area with lots of population, lots of technology people. That's all I can say for now. Use your imagination.
Birmingham?
No, it's not Birmingham. Birmingham, England. It's a major U.S. metro area with lots of technology people. That's all I can say now. Look for a big announcement this summer. That's official. It's definitely happening. We just haven't told anybody yet.
when?
I'm not. We already is one of them. I'm not going. You're not going to get it. Especially since it's being recorded. Just kidding. VCF forward on camera. Also, we're in negotiations with another vintage computer event in another location about joining up and being VCF / their city and their event. So that's a possibility too. A third thing we're doing is we're looking to add, well, right now if you go to our website, there's the forum, information about the museum, information about the events, and that's pretty much it. We were brainstorming what else can we do to benefit their hobby. When you give the IRS your nonprofit stuff and say, here's our mission, they expect you to fulfill it. And so every now and then, in theory, Uncle Sam looks to make sure you're doing what you said you would do. So we were brainstorming what else can we do to fulfill our mission that we're not currently doing. And we thought about, well, maybe a wiki. But the forum, formerly Eric's forum, had a wiki before, no one used it. It was unused. So we're thinking, haven't decided officially yet, something along the lines of a knowledge base maybe, where not just a wiki, but make it a prominent feature of our website, where we go to specific people who we know are experts in specific things and start doing articles. Or to do thorough articles, not everyone's a writer, take a long time, hard to edit. So we're thinking about starting with a top 10 list kind of thing maybe, but it's all just an idea, it's not official yet. So that's one thing we're looking at doing. We're considering, people say, well, how about have a franchising your museum in Silicon Valley? There already is one there, that's where we have VCF West. So we have a partnership with them. And we have a lot of other events. Beside the forum, there's an old-fashioned email list for our chapter, which you can get through the site. And the chapter here, formerly in March, has lots of other events. Every couple of months throughout the year, we have technical repair workshops here, where we get 10, 15, 20 of our guys come from maybe a couple states around for the weekend. We crash overnight. They bring their stuff to work on, and they work on our stuff for us. That's how we maintain our collection. And there's some amount of drinking and Cards Against Humanity. And, my favorite event is our holiday party, which is the Vintage Computer Festivus. Anyone's a Seinfeld fan? Festivus for the rest of us. There's the area of grievances, the aluminum pole. I got a lot of problems with you people. That's my Frank Costanza impression. So that's what we're working on now. We have tons of other ideas that, I forgot to mention a major thing. So, I'm a freelance journalist, that's my day job. And as a freelancer, if I don't write something that week, I don't get paid that week. And I was complaining to my girlfriend, and I got no money, I make so little money, I'm so miserable. She said, well, quit doing all your hobby shit all day. I said, but I have to. They count on me, I love doing it. So I went to the rest of the 5 of us on the board, I was chairman. I went to the other board members, I said, guys, I love this, but if we want to reach our goals, I got to double my time investment. But I need to halve my time investment. What do I do? So we said, well, we need to make more money. Why don't you step down as a board member and become paid director? So the deal is, I stepped down as a board member. We made Eric from California chairman of the board, and I became director. Every nonprofit has a board and a director. I'm paid as a commission of fundraising. So for every dollar I raise, I get a few cents. I'm not legally allowed to say how many cents, but it's a few. And no one can accuse me of being selfish, because the better I do, that means the group even better, right? If I make $5,000 one month, that means the group did awesome. We're rich. Like many, many times that.
You can afford to keep the lights on.
Right. So
And you got $50.
something like that. I just purchased Grant Writing for Dummies 2016 edition. I've never written a grant, and that's where the real money is, you know. The biggest individual donation we've got so far was $5,000 from one person. We've gotten, you know, mostly donations in the hundreds here and there. Part of my job, you know, my job for the last few months is planning the show. Once the show's underway, it kind of runs itself. My job throughout the rest of this weekend is schmooze, basically is my job, and let my staff run the show, you know. So I'm the only employee, but this may sound corny, but it's kind of touching to me that something I founded 13 years ago to get together with beers and mess on computers is now big enough to have an employee, you know. And I won't lie, my pipe dream is to be successful enough to quit my job and do this, which I mean the group is doing fantastic. You know, that's my dream. You guys missed the whole first half of how we got where we are, but that's basically how we got where we are and what we're doing now. So we've got a lot of time. I was expecting to give a half-hour talk because the Amiga film guy was going to be an hour and a half, and he had a family emergency, so I was done it for an hour and I had nothing else to say. Oh, we have a YouTube page, we have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We get these cool trifold brochures. Steve, I'll go to our website. There's a rotating, every 30 seconds, a rotating quote block on their side. And if you click where it says more, it shows you all the quotes. It's Gordon Bell, who designed a PDP-8. Woz gave us a quote. Bill Hurd, of course. Dave All. I like the guy who's the curator at the Computer History Museum in California, which has a staff of 40 employees and millions of dollars. And he gave us testimony on how cool we are. Well, that's humbling, you know. The IEEE History Center gave us a quote, stuff like that. That's pretty cool. So we're doing something right. If all those
I
organizations,
did notice that Woz quote. That was-
yeah, if all those organizations, celebrities say they're doing something right, that's pretty cool. The collection itself is doing great. We're currently getting quotes for more power so we can run some of the big stuff. We are actively restoring our UNIVAC. The UNIVAC we have is...
Which one? Which model?
I was going to say, we have a transistor UNIVAC, not a tube one. Now we have some artifacts in there you'll see from tube, but we have a mid-60s Sperry Rand transistor UNIVAC. So first it was ENIAC, then it was Everett Multi-Computer Company, which made UNIVAC, which was bought by Remington Rand, which merged with Sperry to become Sperry Rand, which merged with Burroughs to become Unisys, which still exists and is still in Philadelphia to this day. So we have a Sperry Rand UNIVAC, a 1219B, which is a military version of a 418-2 commercial machine. The one we have is meant for use on a battleship to control fire control. Ours never saw the water. Ours was at Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab. They use it for software dev for the ones on the ships. Two of our members, Bill and Dwayne, were operators and maintainers of that in their Navy days, and they restored it for us. Funny story about that. When we got it from the quasi-governmental lab, they said they were required by federal law to remove the core memory because there might be data in it. Like, seriously? So, we got the core, it's the world's biggest paperweight. It weighs many tons. Whatever, we took it. And then a couple years ago on eBay, this is in the DC area, because Johns Hopkins in Maryland. On eBay a couple years ago, we found some recycler, some scrapper in the DC area, which happened to have for scrap and sale all the same parts ours was missing. So we said, look, we're a nonprofit, a museum, we need the core memory. Their answer was, you want it, you buy it, or it's being scrapped. They said, screw you. So we had no choice. Had to buy the core memory. We bought 2 cores, even though 2 was enough to do a proverbial hello raw on a mainframe. We bought 2, they tried selling us other stuff, and we said, go away. So we don't want to help them. That was 2 years ago. And the guys who stored it said, oh, it's a shame and all more, can't run any real programs. Oh well, that's what we have. Well, one of them yesterday drove up from North Carolina, one of the UNIVAC guys, opened up one of the parts of the rack, found 8 cores. 8! So now we have 10 cores. That's amazing. And they said, what happened? And we said, well, we were told they weren't there. And the guy said, you fool. When the military guy says, policies, we remove the cores, hint, hint, they didn't actually do it. They had said to cover their butts. We didn't realize that. So the cores are all in there. Funny story though, our PDP-8, our straight 8. Oh, so the UNIVAC, there was, okay, how many battleships were in the US Navy in the mid-60s, late early 70s? Anyone know? I don't know. Does anyone know?
Something like 40, right?
40 battleships? That many?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think probably closer to half that.
Well, New Jersey at least.
If I had to guess a dozen off the top of my head,
Let's just say 20, okay? They each had 2 of these. So maybe 40 computers, plus a few for various laboratories that we had. Maybe there were 50 of these ever made, okay? There's 2 left on the planet. We have one, Uncle Sam owns the other. And we had an inside contact at the place where Uncle Sam's other one is, who sent us all the manuals.
Yay!
And they're not on bit safers, so we're going to scan them, put them on bit safers. So it's 1 of 2 left on the planet. We have only 1 in private hands. So that's our UNIVAC story.
So with the core, you should be able to power up and there still needs to be stuff there.
Yeah, so the PDP-8, so we have a straight 8, the original PDP-8. There were 1,500 of those ever made, less than 50 in the planet, maybe less than 10 are known to work. Ours is fully restored. So we gave a talk about this at VCF a couple years ago with the 10. It's on YouTube. And Dave Guesswine, who has his own restored ours for us, he read the cores. Now the one we have was property of a high school computer club here in New Jersey, so it's local provenance. He read, now high school kids, right, from the 60s, he read the core, and it was a program that said computers are shit. That's the core. That's the program in the core. That was pretty funny, we thought. When we started the collection 10 years ago, we took every 664 we can get our hands on, you know. Now we're a bit more selective, you know. Any other questions? Nobody? Yes.
So, it doesn't sound like you're doing this for the big money, so what are you personally getting out of doing this whole thing? It sounds very involved.
Glory.
You have to deal with a certain amount of drama.
I get
like
glory,
human
right, Corey?
glory.
I get glory. I get glory, G-L-O-R-Y.
Ah,
My job is to raise money. Corey's our business manager. His job is to stop me from spending it. I raise the money. He says, don't go buying stuff. No dancing crawls. No, you know. Didn't you order dancing crawls?
yeah,
No.
and balloons.
So you're running a computer club. I found most fellow nerds are actually surprisingly emotional. What's your strategy for keeping everybody together, moving forward? And well, you had said earlier that somebody put some dumb post on something when you change the color of your website. So how do you, as our director, how do you manage this whole people thing?
I definitely want to emphasize. One thing I've learned is that running a national nonprofit is a lot different than running a computer club. A lot different. As a computer club, we just basically did it. We won. Hung out, messed around with computers. As a national nonprofit, there's rules. And his job is to make sure I follow them.
Not lawyers. We have a lawyer.
And an accountant, and it's much more serious than that. But as a computer club, if I need to wrap someone on the knuckles, we just, you know, as a nonprofit, you have to watch what you say, and I learned that lesson the hard way a few times. And we have to give very politically correct answers to people. But it's good for me, personal growth, right?
There's 3 letters that keep us in line. They're called
Our
IRS.
IR and S, yeah. But we're having fun, you know, I'm learning a lot of personal things about throwing. And for the first time ever, as of this show, we actually have a layer of middle management, believe it or not. There's decisions happening now, things happening I don't even know about. They just happen, and I have to trust people are doing them. Whereas before, when it was March, I was a dictator, and my joke was I tried to be more dictator than Dick. I'm not king anymore. Now I report to Corbin and the board. I now have 5 managers.
Yeah, I do remember last year you were kind of hard to pin down. You were everywhere all the time.
It's a little different now. There's so
Well, now I have a golf cart, so I can get around.
Yeah, so
But-
and I actually wasn't planning on being here and crashing Evan's talk. I just wanted to check how things were going. But you know, I'm sorry to jump in here, Evan, and I'm not on camera, so disembodied voice from nowhere. But we learned a ton doing VCF West because there were things that are they run professional shows at the Computer History Museum all the time. Not necessarily vintage computer shows, but you know they're a venue that that's one of the ways they fund that $100
And so
something
here,
million building.
even though InfoWage owns the property, as a tenant here for 12 years, we pretty much do what we want here. When we came time to work with a serious professional organization, you know, we had to say, well, we have to act like professionals who are not going to work with us.
And it wound up
So-
organizing us very much for this show because things that were very ad hoc and things that we just kind of did off the cuff, we learned we probably should have had a more structure to it. And we've carried the lessons learned, and we'll learn lessons from this show that we'll carry forward to the next one, and so forth. So we've grown up a lot, just emotionally and just in
Corey,
everything we did.
I asked Eric last month about the other event.
Eric Klein being
Yes, I told him about
yeah,
that. Sorry. And Eric said after VCF East, can I announce it yet?
So why don't you like tease everyone here?
Can I
right
say it?
there?
Well, I already teased, I haven't said where.
No, you can't.
I can't say where, okay?
You can't, and
Yeah,
we're
not
very,
saying where.
and, you know, there's a lot of things going on.
It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Long time ago in a galaxy far, far
Phoenix.
away,
No.
and, you know, when there are things like, you know, Super Bowl that may actually physically affect this one, I'm just hinting just to tease people. There's actually, for the first time we can actually say we have a show that's truly affected by the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl game, and that's your hint, and I'm not giving you any more.
That's a good hint.
That's actually an excellent hint, and I'm not saying any more,
Okay.
and it's not just
Okay.
the date that gets in the
That's
way.
okay.
So that's your
Next
teaser,
question.
and I'm out of here.
Okay,
Drop the mic.
shoot.
Or actually, don't, that's
Well, I don't
my
want to
mic.
jump in front of it, I have another question. So
Anyway,
how do you like this facility? I mean, how,
We love
you've
the
been here a long time,
This facility is awesome.
and you
So-
plan to stay here for a long time, and,
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
how's
We
it
have-
going
okay.
here?
We have a 10-year lease. We signed a year ago. We paid $1. We gave a ceremonial check. The really, really short version of the really, really long story, this place opened more than 100 years ago as a Marconi wireless telegraphy station. In World War I, it was Navy and RCA. After World War I, it was a Christian college. After that, it was the New Jersey investment property for something called the Pleasure Seekers Association. It was, I don't know if it was exactly called that, but it had those words in it. I forget the exact name. And though it sounds weird, it was the KKK. And their idea of pleasure was keep out people, they were going to develop it for houses and build a community and keep out people they don't like.
Gee, I thought it was going to be a nudist colony, but no, they're all wearing sheets.
We would have preferred that. We would have preferred that. So they were quite covered with pointy hats and everything. However, I'm speaking for myself, not for the InfoWage Science Center or nonprofit. In my opinion, it will be much worse to not talk about it than to talk about it, right? Now, obviously, as a science museum, we're not going to get into politics, but of course we're against them. I think denying it or glossing over it would be much worse than acknowledging it. So luckily, they're gone. And by the way, now InfoWage is a Black History site, so to them. The Army Signal Corps took over shortly before Pearl Harbor, and from World War II to 2000, it was a top secret Army Signal Corps electronics R&D lab as an outpost of Fort Monmouth, which is 5 miles up the road. It was usually referred to as the Camp Evans Signal Corps lab. It was referred to as, just colloquially as Camp Evans. It was a Signal Corps lab at Fort Monmouth, wink wink, because they didn't want their telephones here, you know. They'd rather you bomb Fort Monmouth than bomb the scientists and researchers here. We get a lot of museum visitors who say, I lived here 30 years and everybody was here. You weren't supposed to. It was secret. One of the dilemmas InfoH has is that all volunteers and stuff, just like other groups, we're all science geeks. We don't know anything about marketing or running a museum. And so trying to tell people we're here after the facility was top secret for almost 100 years is hard. They did such a good job hiding it. You know, we're here. So that's the story of InfoH. InfoH took over the township. The Army gave land to the town, gave them InfoH in dribs and drabs, a building at a time, starting in 2000. By the way, quick story. InfoH got on the National Register of Historic Places back in 2000. My father jokes, well, to be a National Register means just put a plaque up saying something happened here. It doesn't mean somebody can't buy land and develop it. It just means something happened here. My father jokes, the register means George Schleppington washed here. Right? In 2012, InfoH became a National Historic Landmark, which is the highest designation in the country, which means you've done an exemplary job of preserving and presenting it, and it means it can only ever be this. And 95, only a tiny percentage of register places get that status, and of that tiny percentage, almost all of them do it with millions of dollars and professionals with white gloves and museum science majors. We did it with a shoestring budget and a bunch of volunteers and amateurs. And yeah, it's crazy, right? And so every few months, someone wanders in and proclaims they're going to develop this and build strip malls. Let them say what they want. They can't, federal law. And usually they come around when they see all the things that happen here. So there's our group, there's the shipwreck diving group. They do cool stuff off the shore, bring up artifacts. There's a hackerspace here. The hackerspace is called IXR, the Institute for Exploratory Research, which is a great name for a hackerspace, and it pays homage to one of the Cold War labs that was here. There is the Antique Radio Club. We have a fun rivalry with them, because they're basically nerdy guys 55 to 85, and we're nerdy guys 25 to 55. We're the exact same people. And they're like computers, they're not collectible, they're kids. And we're like radios, old farts, But we know we're gonna be them. We're gonna have a 20-year run of our hobby, and we'll be them one of these days. Hey Doug. There's a huge, so this is really important, I want to mention this. The building down the hall where their rooms are, you'll see these posters and t-shirts all over the walls, right? All these church things. You don't expect that in a science museum, right? What happened was, that building was a brick shell of a building. After Hurricane Sandy, the United Way and Catholic Charities sunk in a huge amount of money to renovate the building to use it for themselves for Hurricane Sandy relief organizations, which are still operating. Hurricane Sandy is still being relieved. In fact, this county, Monmouth County, was ground zero. This was the hardest hit county in all of Hurricane Sandy. Luckily, we're 40 feet up the cliff here from the river over there. The river's 100, quarter mile away, but we're 40 feet up the cliff, no water. Anyway, they're still doing relief here. So the relief groups paid to renovate the building, and when they're finally done, InfoH gets the building. So most of the groups are affiliated with churches, so all the t-shirts are kids, high school and college kids, passed through in a few months. They left a shirt saying, we were here. One person said, it is a science museum, we really want all this church stuff. I'm not a fan of it, but you know what? A t-shirt never converted anybody. Whatever your faith is, if it's that weak that you're swayed by a t-shirt, you reconsider your faith. But they're just shirts, so if anyone's offended, they're temporary, they're just shirts, and the kids here did work. It is a science museum, not a religious organization, and that's what the shirts are there for. So they'll be, eventually, when Sandy's done, they'll come down, InfoH will use that building for conventions and stuff like that. Rob?
Yeah, how did the FEMA thing work out? Remember we had to move in our big hurry?
Yeah, so.
And are they connected with the church groups or?
Yeah, well, sort of. So after Sandy, a lot of these warehouse buildings back here where you can't go had leaky roofs and stuff. Our storage was in what used to be this building, but all the walls and stuff aren't here. And InfoH told us, you guys got to move your storage to one of the other buildings because they're going to use this building for the relief because it was the only building on campus that didn't have leaky roofs. So that had nothing to do with FEMA. Yeah. FEMA is what took care of the electricity when InfoH lost power for 6 months. The town supplied a massive truck-size generator which was enough to run the buildings, light bulbs, we couldn't have the VCF on that. But FEMA insurance took care of a lot of that stuff. FEMA, the town's insurance, I guess through FEMA, I don't really know the details. Town's insurance bought a lot of new roofs and back buildings, and so that was happening right when we were moving our collection. So, that's it.
Yeah, at the time I heard that there was training, but that was a complete misapprehension of
You
mine.
heard what?
That FEMA was trying to train people.
It wasn't FEMA, it was, that's,
Okay.
FEMA,
Paying for, no.
FEMA and or the town's insurance covered the roofs
Oh.
after Sandy. The training you're thinking of was United Way and Catholic Charities.
All right.
They're the groups that sunk the money in, and what the money went to was 8,000 organizations, mostly churches and stuff, that did the actual work of bringing in volunteers and training them to go do relief. And so, I'm not a fan of their religion, but you know what? They did relief for Hurricane Sandy. Good deeds are good deeds. Who cares what you believe, right? If you do a good deed for me, I don't care what you believe. So that's that situation.
What's the size of collection versus the size of the museum? How much bigger do you want the museum to get?
What's in the museum is probably the top 5% of the collection, the best 5% of what we have. How big do I want to get? I want it to be 10 times the size. But this building, that's all connected by hallways, we call the H building. Anyone been up to MIT where they have infinite corridor? Some of you, right? The infinite corridor at MIT is like 25 buildings connected by one hallway, wings and lines. Well, this building is actually 100,000 square feet. Well, think of that. It's 16 buildings that together are 100,000 square feet, all connected by one hallway. The public, you guys, can only see 1/8 of that. The rest is off limits to the public because it doesn't have certificates of occupancy. It's going to take anywhere from $50,000 to $50,000 to $250,000 for each of those 16 sections to be fully renovated. For example, the Military Vehicles Museum, a couple buildings down, has a bare brick shell. And you got a CO because they have emergency lights in a bathroom. Because they have Jeeps and tanks and half-tracks. They don't need heat or air conditioning. Okay? For computers, different story. I told InfoWage Management, I don't need heat. I need air conditioning and power. I can make heat. Give me enough power, enough AC, I'll make heat. They said, well, you buy AC, heat's included. So anyway, if anyone has a rich uncle, kidding aside, there's a lot of people on this planet, a lot of people on the East Coast, a lot of corporations for whom $250,000 is a rounding error. Okay? I mean, there are a lot of people who have that money and wouldn't notice it's missing. Now that we're a 501c3 nonprofit, now my father, my own dad, well, why don't you just go to Bill Gates? Yeah, I can't just go to Bill Gates. It's not that easy, you know. I can't just call Bill. We do have a major fundraiser planned for sometime in the next 12 months, where a celebrity who transcends the computer field is going to auction off lunch with him and give us the proceeds.
Is he cute?
I think he's adorable.
Okay.
Just so, all I can say is it's a major celebrity who he started as a computer celebrity. He became so famous, he's transcended the computer field, and everyone knows who he is. And he's gonna have, I used to call him up and I said, hey, he knows us pretty well. And I said, hey, you eat lunch every day, right? Sure, I love lunch. Well, how about you have lunch with someone, you know, talk to them, tell your stories for an hour, and give us the money. Sure, sounds good. So we're gonna auction it off. A company called Charity Buzz is gonna auction it off. They told us a lunch, it's not Tim Cook, but a lunch with Tim Cook went for $600,000.
There's plenty of free money in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. So if I get a tenth of that, I'll be very happy. So we can't say who yet.
Gonna be was.
What?
Was.
You'll get nothing out of me. Nothing out of me.
When
will we find out?
He was. You'll get nothing out of me.
Evan.
You'll wait to see the announcement.
Check Wash's calendar on Google.
When will we find out? Evan,
Lips are sealed.
when will we find out?
Okay, good question. So I contacted a celebrity because I know him personally, and he said, happy to do it. He said, you have my word, I will do it. He said, I'm gonna have you talk to my wife and she'll arrange this. My wife, and she said, he'll do it, I'm gonna have you talk to my assistant. So I'm doing with the assistant of the wife.
Bill Hurd then.
It's not Bill Hurd. Bill's down the hall somewhere. And the assistant to the wife of the celebrity said, here's the ground rules. And it was like a 40-page ground rules. And one of the ground rules is the auction has to be one person. The celebrity won't do a company lunch, he won't do a team, one person only. And one of the ground rules is don't say who it is until the person says you can say who it is, when they're good and ready. And the person said, I have a couple other charities ahead of you. I do a few of these a year. When I get through those, I'm a busy guy. When I get through these, we'll get to you. I will do it, but it may be a while, a year or two before you hear from me. Okay. So that's that.
Fair enough.
It's actually John Carpenter. It's John.
Wow.
He was a member of the Carpenters.
Dead now.
Not that carpenter, so.
Any questions? Doug, Bob?
So we're gonna be doing a lot in the, moving the museum here. Can you talk about what's been going on?
Yeah, okay. So every year, we were in the old museum across the hallway for like 8 years. 2 months before last year's VCF East, they said, moving time. Information management said, moving time, like we're staying for a show. Moving time, whether you like it or not. Okay, they said, natural feature for more space, take it or leave it. We took it. So we rushed to throw together the museum last year. In the effort to get it open in time for last year's show in 2 months, we put up these cheesy cardstock signs printed on an inkjet. They were high school amateur science fair signs. Now we have tablets. So we bought a bunch of tablets that are $50 Android tablets. We couldn't afford iPads, but they're tablets, and we finished setting them up 2 nights ago. So now you touch a tablet, get information about the computer. Now, for stage 1, all that's on a tablet is black and white text, just like there was on a cardstock sign. It's a digital version of the analog sign, that's it. Phase 2 is use the tablet for what they're good at, right? Video, slideshows, apps, rich content. Come back next year, we'll have that done, right? Phase 1 was get the tablets up, put the information on. Phase 2 is use them, take advantage of what they can do. We're building a dial-up PBS. We bought a Chinese 8-port analog PBX. Funny story, it has a Chinese dial tone. It doesn't expect a dial tone we know. Didn't expect that. So phase 1 of the BBS, we'll pick 4 or 5 micros in a museum, an Apple II, a Trash 80, whatever. We could have done it emulated, of course, but we decided to do a real PBS so that kids could experience a handshake and the sound and the speed and everything else. We're using major BBS, which is DOS. So we use a server, bare metal DOS, with PC Anywhere so we can get in from the outside world. So phase 1 will be in the museum. Phase 2 will be external access by Telnet. Phase 3 is external dial-up. That'd be pretty cool. We recently put a rack in there. There's going to be, right now it holds our bar fridge. We put a Ethernet we put a power over Ethernet switch in there to run IP security cameras. So anytime there's motion and we're not here, it'll set off an alert, send me an app, someone's in a room. We put an Ethernet to ThickNet switch in there to network some of the mini computers. We're going to put 3 pizza boxes in, one for a VBS server, one for the kiosk server, and one for, I forget what it's for. Then we're gonna put a shelf in there for a media server. Betamax, Laserdisc, DVD, VHS to run some, old videos. Like we have a Welcome to Mac, videotape and stuff. You'll see all this tomorrow in the museum. Now, in the old museum, we didn't have any workshop space. We just had exhibit space. We wanted to use the workshop, we had to go to the hackerspace down across the campus. Now we actually have our own workshop with a bench and tools and everything. That's a nice little thing. We're setting up a Lego learning station where it's Lego logo, put a little robot program in a logo, and we're going to set it up as a parent-child learning station. Because we don't want parents coming in, tell their kids, oh, it's a big museum, you go play with Legos, I'll come pick you up in 2 hours, I'll walk around the museum. No, we're not daycare. And we don't want a kid taking apart a robot we spent weeks designing. So it'll be parent-child learning station, have a seat, maybe we'll schedule classes, right? And teach kids and parents together, logo. Now, we're concerned that, if any of you are parents, maybe you tell me, we're concerned that computer science departments in middle schools will tell parents it's bad for kids to learn BASIC and logo because it's not Scratch and Alice. We disagree. Yes, no one uses interpretive line number languages today, but it's computational thinking, right? Logic is logic. Boolean logic hasn't changed. Thinking about routines is thinking about routines. And parents, people my age in their 40s, the computers we grew up on to their kids and show them, we're hoping people like it. And maybe we'll do it as a fundraiser, donate $50, take a class. So we're setting it up now. And I'm having a blast, because when I was 12, my two favorite things on the planet were my Apple II and my Legos, and I consciously remember telling my parents, I wish I could connect these. Turns out it existed and we just didn't know. Now, 30 years later, I have it. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm living my 12-year-old dream. I'm so happy. And in the board of directors is like, give it back. It's like, mine. I'm like Yoda when Luke comes and R2 tries to take his lunch, and Yoda's like, oh, Yoda tries to take, R2 takes a flashlight back, and Yoda's like, mine. So that's what's going on in the museum. The tablets and Lego Learning Station, and we're getting quotes from Power to run some of the big stuff. Oscar Vermeulen, PyDP8 guy, unfortunately he couldn't be here. He had a family issue back in Switzerland, but he gave us the PyDP. And of course, a real 8i is meant to attach to an LA120, Decorator 3. So we have a Decorator 3, it looks like it came out of the factory, it's like brand new. So we're going to take the PyDP, put it on a shelf, interface it to the LA120. So the real terminal, fake computer, and that'll be kind of cool. And we're going to run BASIC on it. We're going to interface an ASR33 to our straight 8 and run Focal. Focal is a basic language meant to be used with the PDP-8. Doing that. And Alexander is restoring our hero robot. Maybe the hero can greet visitors or something. We call it R2 for obvious reasons. Have you guys seen the Facebook meme where it shows a Dalek and it says, OMG, R2-D2, I left him in Star Trek. Yeah.
He's rolling, he's coming along, slowly.
Yeah, how are we doing on time now? I have to 11:40, what time is it? 11:32, not bad. Yes.
I just got back from the Computer Museum up in Seattle.
Oh, that's incredible.
And your comment about BASIC is right on. Don't let them just make... My 24-year-old daughter started screwing around with BASIC games on a Unix box, and then a bunch of CPM boxes running BASIC 80 games.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do they do this? And I hit Control-C, I listed out the program.
Yeah.
And if you want to change it to do this, watch this line. And we threw line.
Yeah.
And then she started programming the BASIC.
So
Like, this is fun.
The museum, it's called the Living Computer Museum.
Yeah,
It's
it's a great
personally
museum.
owned by Paul Allen, like the world's largest yacht. He owns the Seattle Supersonics NBA team. He owns.
We
So
don't
you
have
start out with
we don't
Microsoft.
have supersonics anymore.
They're gone.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
He owns Seahawks.
I'm a baseball and football fan, I'm sorry. He owns an NFL team.
Yeah.
Corey said something before about the Super Bowl. Maybe you could issue it for our next show. Never mind.
The one thing I can say is you're right on with the BASIC. Don't let them fool you.
Wink.
Kids love it.
Yes. That's really all I can say. Yeah, we like them. They've been tweeting us. Like the fact that Paul Allen, social media person, found us worthy of tweeting this week. Incredible. By the way, we are so humble, man. This week, IEEE Spectrum tweeted us, ExtremeTech.com tweeted us, ACM tweeted us, Hackaday is one of our official sponsors. Thank you, Hackaday, for sponsoring us and giving us a lot of money. And Brian is covering us. The Computer Science Teachers Association tweeted us. And Woz tweeted us, Jason Scott tweeted us, Jerry Ellsworth tweeted us, Lee Felsenstein, Dan Cockey all tweeted us. So it's pretty cool. We're humbled about that they think we're worthy, you know?
There's another thing going on right now, it's pretty quiet because we're still setting up. The Unix Heritage Society.
Yes.
We do a lot of old Unix stuff.
Are you with them?
Yeah.
Let's talk afterward.
Okay,
I want
yeah,
to-
they're setting up UUCP
Yeah,
and Usenet.
well, let's talk offline.
Yeah, we'll talk offline, but I'm just saying there was a lot of interest in that stuff.
So, one last thing I want to say. Until October of 2012, I think, I forget the exact date. When did Steve Jobs die?
2011.
October 2011, about there, right? Whatever it was. When I told people, if you take 100 people off the street, random strangers, and say, do you know about the antique car hobby? Yeah, mostly. Are you into cars? No, not at all. Most people buy a car and drive. They're not car people. Yet even the non-car people know that there is an antique car hobby. It's something the public culture is just aware of. Yet if I pick 100 guys off the street, even 100 IT people, why would I want an old computer when I can have a new one? Recycle it. Why should that be? And I had to explain to IT people what digital computing is, even though it's bizarre.
There's a difference between
So-
IT people and computer people.
Yeah, but bear with me. Touche. When Steve Jobs died, if someone said, meet someone at a cocktail party, so what do you do? Well, I run this nonprofit old computers. Oh, like old apples and stuff. Yes, exactly. So I think that Steve Jobs did two wonderful things in his life. One is he convinced Woz to quit Hewlett-Packard, and two is he died. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. But the hobby, in my opinion, the day our hobby went mainstream is the day Steve Jobs died. And I'm serious, because obviously lots of famous people in computers have passed away over the years, but only those of us who were also in computers knew or cared. Jobs is the first person who was known to the world as a public celebrity who passed from the microcomputer generation, who passed away. And even though there's more people percentage-wise from the homebrew and mini-computer generations in the hobby, there's more people in the microcomputer field, so many more that 1% of microcomputer fans dwarfs 10% of mini-computer fans. There's only more of us. So Steve Jobs dying was the first time the general public gave a crap about computer history. Well, that was huge for us. Not us, but the hobby. So I said that's the day our hobby went mainstream, and we'll have a 20-year run, and then we'll be the antique radio guys, And there's going to be some, our kids will be talking about, the Museum of Robots, holograms, and 3D printing, or whatever.
Do you think there's like an end date to when retro computers are interesting? Like the computers we have today, will they ever be considered interesting?
You're asking me what's vintage? Oh man.
Well,
Can of worms. There's always one. What's vintage?
It's a 55-gallon drum of worms.
Yeah. It's like worm heaven. When we started doing VCF East in 2006, somebody said, well, where's the IBM PC in the museum? And I said, over my dead body. Now there's the PC in the museum. Now we have Windows 3.1 in the museum. Okay?
Slow.
Laugh if you want, but that's history.
95 is soon.
Not yet. History never stops. History happens every day. I've learned that it doesn't have to be old to be historic. I've learned that not everything old is historic. Some things are just old crap. Some things that are new you want to save because it's going to be valuable. You know what first-gen iPods are going for on eBay? Right? First-gen iPods are going for a fortune on eBay. That's collector's items. Buy one now while you can. So, now, it doesn't mean we can have one of everything because we'll fill the warehouse. And at some point, there are people on the VC forum, which we own, people ages 15 to 25 who grew up on Windows 95. And they're saying, wow, retro, Pentium 1. Cool, 46 like my parents had. Again, it's got a turbo button. Really? But when I joined the hobby around Y2K, I said, all right, Apple II is like my childhood. There's a bunch of, guys with beards grayer and longer than mine said, Apple II, toy computer. Now, we love our Apple. So can't stop history. So, now we've got 1 year somebody had SGI, Newton, all kinds of stuff, Sun Micro. And I'm waiting for someone to do an exhibit of like Geos and Sidekick, Windows 3.1. That should be an exhibit, right? That's totally history. By the way, not an April Fool's Day joke. Tomorrow's April Fool's Day. Tomorrow we're having a Commodore 65 here. Not an April Fool's Day joke. I wanted to see, I thought we should also bring a Commodore 66 and a 63, Windows 3.2, the Apple IV.
Windows 3.2 is real though, it's Chinese.
I don't know. But the Commodore 65 is not a joke. There are probably people gathering for the next talk. I'm going to shut up now, which is worthy of applause, but I'm shutting up.